Hey guys, welcome back to Bait and Tackle. In today's episode, we are going to revisit 3D printing some lead molds. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to 3D print the mold negative, which is what I'm holding in my hand right now. I have a new one that my buddy Anthony at Lazy Bait Co. helped me out with, and it is the grass piece jig. So if you guys remember, I did a video on doing grass piece jigs with this guy right here, which is the Do It Ultra. I think it's the Ultra. I can't remember, the Ultra spinner bait or something like that. But we were making grass piece jigs with that. And then I also did a version of grass piece jigs with the poison head. But that was a little bit more difficult, considering you had to bend the wire. You put the wire in and then you had to bend it because it would not take the form inside that mold without significant modifications, and I didn't really want to do those kind of modifications. So I sat down and I designed up a new head and sent it to Anthony, and he made it happen. And then we made a couple different alterations, or alterations, not altercations. So the alterations we made was, first it was with a just a normal tail like that right there, where you would be able to hang your collar with your jig skirt on the back of that, and you'd be able to maybe push the bait up onto that cone right there, right, that cone shape. Kind of a traditional back to a jig, right? So I decided I really didn't want that. Actually, the first release was this, but we were having some problems with air getting trapped in the bottom of this, because it's silicone, it's not lead, so it's not like you can really force it down in there. I did find a way to force it in there a little bit better, so it did fill eventually, but this is the one where he modified the air paths to make it fill in better. So that was the first go. The second go was, the first go was that without the, oh, here it is, actually right here. There's the first one. So that's the original one right there, and you see how the air chambers don't go all the way to the tip there where the hook meets. So the shank of the hook. Then this was version 2 right here, where he added the air down there at the edge. So then that way the lead filled out completely, and it helped significantly. But then I decided, I really wanted to do something a little bit different. So I have some custom jigs that I bought from a gentleman a long time ago, and I really like the backs of those. But the only thing with it is all its purpose was to do is to hold the jig skirt. That's it. That's all it was. I really wanted a bait keeper on this bait. So what I ended up doing was having him reinvent the back of that mold a little bit, and then we redid it so that what it does now, let me show you the other side here. So what it does now is it comes back. It's got a little bit of a section there to hold the skirt collar and the skirt. But then if you can see down in there, there's actually there's a spot for a wire keeper, a bait keeper. So I'm going to use the WB400 from Do It to actually put a little bait keeper past that point. So you'll be able to put the jig skirt on, that collar will hold that section will hold the collar, and then you'll have a bait keeper behind that even. So then that way when you slide your bait on, it'll stay on and keep it on. Now it's just, like I said, it's just a wire, so it's not gonna, it's not a screw lock, so it's not gonna stay on there real hard, but it's just something to keep the bait on there. I just wanted something to keep the bait on there. And I am a big fan of the screw locks, but at the same time, the screw locks can be a little bit annoying when, you're trying to deal with screwing baits on and off. I have them on my underspins, and I got to be honest, I love them on my underspins. I don't think I'll make that change. The small ones, those are the very, very small ones I have, like a 1/16 ounce. Those ones actually do have just a hook bait keeper like that, the WB400, because I just can't fit the screw lock on there because it's too big. So let me get you down to the bench over here. What I want to do today is, part of this video, and this is going to be over a few days because I have to pour the mold negatives, and they have to sit for a while and cure, and then we'll come back after they're cured, we'll demold them, and then after they demold, we will go ahead and put a layer of talc powder on them to protect them from the heat a little bit. And we'll probably end up pouring these, and I'll show you how I pour them and what temperature and that kind of thing. So let's get you down here. The first thing we're going to do is pour these things so they can set up. Okay guys, so some essentials for what you're going to need to do this. You need some gloves, because this stuff right here, Mold Max 60, is high heat silicone, and it's red and it stains everything. So you just have to be real careful with it. So look, there was a little bit on top of that jug and I already got it on my hands. And it didn't set up either, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so gloves. Definitely gloves you want to wear for this. Got some popsicle sticks to stir. Got these little cups, the stirring sticks and the cups. And even the Mold Max 60 I got off of Amazon. Okay. These 3D printed negatives, again, came from Anthony. He's the one that laid them out for me. I designed the bait itself, but I wanted him to do the molds. And this is just printed on a FDM 3D printer. So you could do this on an FDM 3D printer, you know, pretty cheap one. You don't have to do resin. I probably should do resin, but I haven't yet. And that's something I probably need to start doing, is using my resin printer, considering that I have one and I don't ever use it. I need to. And then you also need this. This is from Amazon as well. It's a Uniway, nice little scale. It is a great scale, to be honest. I almost dropped the weight. It comes with a weight to calibrate the scale itself. Okay, so you open it up, comes with this weight right here. I don't really ever use it, but it's pretty accurate. So the weight for this mold, or what we need, is about 100 grams. Oh, the other thing you need is some hair ties. And I don't know, you could use rubber bands, whatever you want on these. My daughters have a ton of hair ties around, and all I'm doing is one side of this mold negative has a wall that I can take off, then that way I can get the mold out, right? Just makes things easier. So what I do is I just double wrap it with a hair tie. And these hair ties are very tight on here. And then I just center it up on there. And that's it. So just nice and centered around the outside like this. And then you can move that wall if you need to. But as long as it's flat, with everything, it's fine. So that's what we need right there. And of course, if you got used hair ties that have got some hair on them, make sure that the hair is not on there, because you probably don't want it in the mold. So there's that. And then we'll do the other one. Now, the only thing I had to do, and I'll tell you guys this just as a little kind of tip or trick, if you do have a 3D printer and you do print out some 3D mold negatives, which I've done before, even, you know, not Anthony's, but I've actually found them on the, is it not Maker's World? It's Bamboo Lab, their studio. They actually have some mold negatives on there, some like jig heads and stuff like that. So there are some things you can play around with, even if you don't have somebody that, you know, designs for you or whatever. But really awesome. Got these both halves ready to go. The next thing is we need to figure out, I'm going to set these off to the side. We need to get our silicone poured. And again, this is part B. This is part A. We need part A. We need to be 100 parts A to 3 parts B. Okay. So that means 100 grams of red of this in the cup, 3 grams of this blue in the cup. Then we need to make sure that we stir it very thoroughly. So what I'm going to do is put the cup on the scale first before I do anything. I'm going to turn it on. It should zero with the cup on it, which is what I want. Then I can open this up. Let me get my gloves on first, because this stuff gets nasty. I'm going to put my stirring sticks off to the side. And the other thing you need to remember and make sure you do is, if you can, you don't have to, but you probably can and should, is vacuum your silicone and degas it. So get all the air bubbles out of this, right? Now if you pick up that cup, it says it's basically 9 grams. So here we go. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to get 100 grams in here. I've got the thing set to grams. It's at 0. So here we go. We ramp that puppy up to 100, and 100 is plenty for both halves of the mold. So if you wanted to do 2 molds, you would just do double, which I've done before actually. So I'm going to get 100 of this red in there. Okay, I got 99.90 or whatever on there. You want to make sure that you get all the silicone, this part, kind of off. I usually wipe this out, but I did a pretty good job keeping it clean. So I'm just going to screw this back on there. I'm going to take this, and if I see any wet spots that I've got some exposed red, I'm just going to wipe them off. Okay, now this guy I'm going to lay right here for a second, and then I need to quickly add 3 grams of this to the mixture, otherwise I don't want my scale to zero out on me. 1, 2, and a little over 3. And it's okay if you're a little over. It's not a big deal. Now this stuff is blue, so it is kind of a staining color too. So just wipe it off, keep it there. So there you go, nice and clean. Now we take this off the scale, get rid of our scale, and we stir like madmen. And what I want to do is make sure that all the blue gets introduced into the red. Make sure that it all goes in there. Give it a nice good stir. Take a minute. Working time on this, I believe, is like 45 minutes or something like that. So plenty of time to get you over to the degassing chamber, get it vacuumed out to make sure that there's no air in it. I want to make sure that the blue on the stick and the red that was on the stick is down in there. It's not. So make sure you scrape the bottoms real good. Make sure you scrape the sides real good. Okay. Just make sure you got it real good. Like I said, a couple minutes. I usually, about 2 minutes or something like that, I would say. Now, probably not actually 5. A minute and a half. You really don't need much. As long as the blue is gone and you've got it mixed up fairly well, I've never had any issues with this yet. So I think we're probably pretty good. I'm going to scrape the outside one more time. And I'm going to scrape the bottom real good one more time. Give it another big stir. And then I'm going to go ahead and scrape off what I had. There we go. Okay, so very similar, same thing as what I did to the, what's the other one we just redid, the mud flipper. Okay, guys, just putting this in the degassing chamber, closing it, and starting it. You'll see as it starts to get, I don't know if you guys can see it, I can see it now, it's starting to raise in the cup. We're at about -25. And it'll probably get all the way up to almost the top of the cup before it actually starts going back down. Right there, pretty close, pretty close. And then it went back down. So you just want to keep it in there until about, I'd say probably -28, -30, around that. And then that pretty much ensures that most of the air is out of it. So I'd say we're probably good right there. Shut it off. Let the air out slow. Let it get back to 0. we go. Grab the cup. Try not to get red everywhere. Bring you back over here to the bench. And now we put our molds out. We put them right here and right here, so you guys are a little bit closer to the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and start pouring. Now I may have to use the stick a little bit later just to get it to stop in between, and then getting it to scrape the sides just to get a little bit extra. But I think, if I remember right, this is pretty well. So what I want to do is start with a pretty good flow there. You want to just start getting it flowing, and once you start getting it flowing, you can let it kind of go slow, and you'll see it just rolling into all the cavities, and you'll see it just rolling into around everything the way it's supposed to. Let it get in the grooves. You don't really need any mold release on these, at least not that I've experienced so far. I've had a pretty good luck just by doing this without mold release. And the only thing I'd have to say that I had to do a little bit different when I printed these was you got to make sure your layer height is down as small as it can go. That'll make the precision and the details a lot more clear. So just keep adding until it fills up the cavity. Let it spill out and pretty much fill in every gap, every hole. I don't see any air bubbles, so when I vacuumed it did a great job. And then when you get to a certain point where the bottom is full, you can just start dumping in a little bit more at a time. And that way you can really get it filled up. And what you want to do here is get to the top of this thing, get close to the top of this thing, and you want to let it just kind of smooth out on its own. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing filled up the best I can. It's nice to have that extra meat there. As far as the outside of the mold, I think I'm pretty close here. You kind of got to take a guess to see if you're going to actually fill it up all the way. But even if it doesn't fill like all the way, I think it's fine. So I'm going to stop there, bring it over here and start this one. That's perfect right there. So I'm just going to leave that. So this one got a little bit overfilled, but pretty perfect. I know from your standpoint, it's probably perfect, but that's where we're at. So I'm going to take my gloves off very carefully, roll everything into one glove like I always do. Got the paper towels in there as well. So the only thing left will be when this drips down onto this at the end, I'll just, soak up that, or it'll be cured anyway. So it doesn't matter. So we got to let these set up. So I'm going to move this stuff out of the way because I've got some other work to do, and we'll come back. The next part of this video will be to demold them, and we'll continue on. All right, guys, so we're back. The molds have completely set up. I am going to demold them now. Try to get this outside door off, which seems to be on there a little tighter than I expected. So that's what it looks like from the side profile. That's why there's that one door there. I'm just taking my fingernail and rubbing it along that sharp edge just to clean up a little bit of excess that got in between the little wall and the actual rest of the mold negative. So got that cleaned up. Now this is the hard part. Without trying to rip anything or break anything, you got to peel up on that edge without ripping anything or getting anything caught. And there we go. What do you think, guys? So we're going to dust this mold, and we're going to try it right now because I got the lead out. I had the lead heated up for another project. Let me get the other mold demolded here, the other half. There we go. Get the other half taken care of here. Same process. Okay. We do the same thing here. Just carefully put a lot of pressure on it and get it out of there. There it goes. Okay, so you can see this is the peg side. I got my pegs there, right? And then this side is the hole side. So when you put these two together, they close up perfectly. See that? And some of these are my air holes, and some of them are the actual wire. This one down here is the wire. That one's a wire right there. That's an air hole. So we're going to try this with our with this one was got the weed guard in it. So let's get these dusted real quick. And all I use for dusting is some good old talc powder. So just make sure you're wearing a mask, or be very careful not to breathe stuff in. Take a little paintbrush. Take a little bit of the talc. But just coat the mold where the lead's going to be. Okay, and the sprue. The sprue is very important as well. Okay, and again, this is not rocket science. You just need enough in there to cover everything. So what I do is I just kind of use this paintbrush to just paint everything with the talc powder. And then when you're done painting everything that you need to paint with the talc powder that the lead's going to touch, I just give it a little blowout in a fan, so then that way it takes it away from you. So that's what you're left with. Nice little coating of talc. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing with the second half. Just make sure everything is nice and covered with talc. And again, all the big pieces and everything, you'll blow them out into a fan. Or outside would be fine. But there you go. So got my two things there. I got my wire form and my hook right here, which is going to go right here. The one thing I'm missing is my WB400 weed guard, or not weed guard, bait keeper, which is a very tiny bait keeper. So we're going to go ahead and put that in the mold. I'm going to see how this lays in here. And it lays in there just fine. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I'm going to try to bring it to the camera without dropping anything. This might be a little difficult, more difficult than you think. See it? Weed guard in place. So this should go pretty easy. Now my lead temperature, I'm going to let you guys know this. Usually when I shoot silicone, I go down in temperature. I usually shoot it at about 3.5. But today, I'm actually going to shoot this, and here's the mold. I'm going to go ahead and put a little clamp on there just to keep everything tied together. Nice and snug, okay? Doesn't have to be too tight because remember this will flex. So got everything where I need to line up my hook, line up my thing here, and I got my weed guard in there, and I'm going to pour lead in that hole. Now what I was saying was my lead temperature, I usually do these at 3.5. I cranked it up just a little bit more to 4 because it's the first time I'm shooting this, plus I noticed the last time I did it, I had to crank it up just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit, and that temperature helped. So let's get over to the lead station and pour this thing. Okay, I'm going to try to stand off to the side so you guys can see this. I'm just making sure all my stuff's lined up. Hopefully I'm not in the screen, but I'm going to have to be to get the lead, to pour the lead. Okay, we are going to wait for that lead to set up because it is piping hot. Okay, it is set up now. So I'm going to bring you back over here to the bench, tilt you down a little bit, and I'm going to show you. All I'm going to do is just open this up, let it fall apart. Okay. Try not to let the lead sit in there too long, but you have to let it cool down. So looks like it took it pretty well. It didn't burn anything. It didn't burn any of the silicone onto the bait, which is what I would expect to see. So let me clean this up, guys, and we'll take a look at it. All right, just going to cut the sprue off and all the air, all my air channels that just help get the lead flowing. So now, let me get these off here, and then we'll talk about this, because I want to talk to you about why those are there. Okay, so here is the new bait. Grass piece jig, blade will go up here. Okay, that was where our sprue was. We also had an air thing there and an air thing up there. But the reason for that is because of the points, the sharp points on this bait. Okay, anywhere where you're going to get where the lead won't go if you push it in and it doesn't go where you want it to go. Okay, so that's why there's some down here, especially around this collar holder. So here's the bait. There's your grass piece wire form to hold the chatter blade up there. And then here is your collar to hold your skirt on. And then there's your bait keeper. I'm not sure if I want to leave that there, if I want to move it back a little bit, or maybe even think about using the longer bait keeper. But for now, we're going to stick with that because I think that is awesome. So kudos to my man Anthony. This worked out beautifully. All right, guys. So I decided that I'm just going to kind of wing this. This video has been kind of drawn out, and I've been kind of a little bit all over the place. So what I want to do is, I did already pour the new molds, and I actually poured some of the mud flippers as well, since I had the silicone out and everything. So what we're going to do is, this is the last release, hopefully the last release, the last version of the grass piece jig, the bait and tackle grass piece jig. So what we're going to do is, we're going to demold these on video, and then we're going to go ahead and dust them with some talc powder like we normally do with these silicone lead molds, and then we're going to go ahead and pour them, and I'm going to show you the hardware and everything like that goes into these. And then we're probably going to do a part 2 to this video where I actually paint them and we put some jig skirts on and stuff like that. We may do probably 2 different colors, maybe like a shad white, pearl white type color, and then probably do like a traditional like black and blue. I think that works really well too as far as grass piece jig goes. So let me get you down here to the bench, and we're going to demold these like I said, and then we'll get them prepped for actually lead pouring.
Perfect.
Okay guys, so I'm just gonna go through and clean these up real quick. There's a little bit of excess lead, the sprue and everything like that, so I'm just gonna cut these off. A little bit of excess around the bait keeper or the skirt keeper, that kind of thing. So I'm just gonna go through, clean all those little tabs up, and this is what you get. Nice, straight, pretty awesome. And there's that bait keeper, and it's moved back significantly farther than it was before. Here's the old one, here's the new one. See how far back it is? So I like that better. It gives a little bit more grip on the bait. I think it's going to be a lot better. And the only other thing I'm going to do is just take a little file and just get some of the little rough spots off, like where the sprue was, where some of the air slots were. Not too shabby, guys. I love it. Anthony did a great job making the mold negative for me, but super clean, awesome, perfect spot for that collar, bait keeper, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these up. I actually made a bunch. I made like 10. We're probably only going to paint like 2 in the next video, or maybe we'll paint more, but I think right now I'm just going to shoot for 2. So let me just go ahead and we'll just speed run this. I'm just going to clean these up real quick. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hope you really enjoyed that. It's just the making the grass piece jigs, the bait and tackle grass piece jigs. That is the newest thing that I'm going to start making. I've been sitting on these for a while. I've been wanting to make these for a long time. I've got a lot of wire forms sitting here, that kind of thing. We definitely need to make some more of these, but I'm glad that Anthony and I worked this out, so we made it, I think, a lot better than some of the other designs out there. So great bait keeper, good hooks. I'm using Gamakatsu hooks, which I really like. They're expensive, but they're very good hooks. And then, you know, using the blade on the top for the little chatterer that throws these around. I mean, this is an incredible bait to throw, really is. Like I said, this is part 1. We're going to do a part 2. Part 2 will come back and paint some of these and put some jig skirts on and put some skirts together, and probably just concentrate on 2 colors. We're just going to do a pearl white shad type color, and then we're going to do a black and blue, which is pretty popular. So so stay tuned for that. That'll be this is going to be like a 2-part series. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and always remember to keep on baiting.